Greetings, Patriots. This is our second test review for this 9 weeks. Please make sure that you always work on the test review individually first and use this video to check your answers. That's the best way to know what you need to do in order to study. So let's go ahead and look at the solution to this equation. Once again, if I am solving, don't forget we must move our variables to one side, either left or right. Okay, so the first step we're going to do is move your variables by either adding or subtracting. So I'm going to go ahead and move that positive 1x, and I'm going to form the inverse of it, and what I do to one side, I do directly to the other side. So 2 take away 1 leaves me with x, or 1x, plus 3 is equal to a negative 4. Now I need to move my constants, or my numbers, over to one side again, by actually adding or subtracting. So I want x by itself. The inverse of adding 3 is to subtract 3 on both sides, and that leaves me with x is equal to, negative 7. Again, negative 4 minus 3. Use your Desmos calculator if you forgot your integer rules. Don't forget that you need to grid correctly. So this is a negative 7. That's the same thing as negative 7.0. So that negative 7 should go right in the ones place. It's negative 7. Don't forget to put that negative and to actually grid that. If I think about negative 7 on the number line, I know that negative 7 would be somewhere over to the left of the number line. So my solution of negative 7 should be shaded. All right, let's go ahead and look at problem number 2. So I need to be able and look at a picture and identify what the equation is first. So I can see on this first expression here, I end up with negative 3 times a number, and these are positive values, so plus 10. Right, is equal to, I have 5x, 5 times a number, minus 8, it looks like. Yep, minus 8 when I count that. So in order for my variables to just stay positive, I'm going to go ahead and move the smaller coefficient, the negative 3x, by, again, adding 3x on both sides. Make sure you keep your like terms together. We've talked about that in class. That leaves me with 10 is equal to 8 times x minus 8. Now my job is to go ahead and move all my numbers over to one side. And since I want that x alone, minus 8 is the number I am moving over to the left side. So what I do to one side, I do to the other. This leaves me with 8 times a number equals 18. My final step is to divide by that coefficient of 8, and what I do to one side, I do to the other. And when I enter 18 divided by 8 in my Desmos calculator, that gives me 2 1/4, or 2 25/100. So the correct answer here would have been D. Once again, you could have substituted each value to see which made your equation true, which value of x would have made it true. All right, so that's just practicing our skill. Now we want to make sure that you feel comfortable reading a word problem and first writing an equation. So we're going to be looking at each aquarium here, aquarium A and aquarium B. Aquarium A contains 4.6 gallons of water, and Lewis will begin filling aquarium A at a rate of 1.2 gallons per minute. Aquarium B contains 54.6 gallons of water, and Isaac is draining aquarium B at a rate of 0.8 gallons per minute. After how many minutes will both aquariums contain the same amount of water? So I know both of these will share the variable of minutes, and we want to see when they will be the same. So wherever I look for the m, or the minutes, right, that's my variable. That's my multiplier there. So I know aquarium A is starting off with 4.6 gallons of water, and Lewis is filling it up at that rate of 1.2 gallons per minute. There's that plus 1.2x. Aquarium B, on the other hand, has 54.6 gallons of water, but Isaac is draining that. So that means that water, it's losing water, right? At 0.8 gallons per per minute. There's that per minute again. So at some point, they're going to end up with the same amount of water. So once again, let's go ahead and solve. We're going to go ahead and start off by moving our variables over to one side. Remember, if I'm subtracting 0.8x, the inverse of that is to add 0.8x. What I do to one side, I do to the other. This forms 0 pairs. And when I add 1.2 plus 0.8, that leaves me with 2.0x, which is just 2, and that equals 54.6. So now I need to subtract that constant, that number of 4.6. What I do to one side, I do directly to the other side. That leaves me with 2x, this gives me a 0 pair, is equal to 50. You can use your Desmos calculator, make sure you're entering your decimals correctly. Finally, if I divide by 2 on both sides, x is going to equal 25 minutes because the question said, after how many minutes will both aquariums contain the same amount of water? After 25 minutes, right, aquarium A and B will be equal to each other. Can you always check that 25 minutes by taking that value and substituting it where you see that x? Of course you can, to make sure that you can even identify how much water is in both. Let's go ahead and look at the following problem. You will be given a situation that you have to choose the appropriate situation. So which situation is going to be best represented by 2 times x plus 150 is equal to 5x. Sometimes the best way to answer these problems is to go through each one and actually write your equation for each one. So here it says Mary has 5 stamps and buys 150 each week. Nick has no stamps, so 0 stamps, but buys 2 stamps each week. When will Marty have more stamps than Mary? Well, this is actually looking at more stamps. So Marty, or actually it should say Nick. When will Nick, have more stamps than Mary? Well, this is an equation, so this one cannot even be a situation that I'm dealing with. However, here Mary had actually 5 stamps and was buying 150 per week, so that's not even an option there. Okay, let's go to B. Mary has 150 stamps, all right, and is buying 2 stamps each week. Okay, so she has 150, and she's buying 2 stamps each week. I'll take that. Nick doesn't have any, but is buying 5 stamps per week. When will they have the same number of stamps? Okay, so these two have to be equal to each other if they want the same number of stamps. Let's go ahead and look at the following. And again, this should say Nick. But the question says, when will Nick have more stamps? Well, this is an equation, so we know C has to be out of the picture, and so does A. Okay, now let's look at this. Mary has 2 stamps and buys 150 each week. So this is 2 plus 150x. Well, that's not even an option when I look at my expression. So therefore, the best option to go with is B. Let's go ahead and look at the following problem, problem 5. Here we go. This is one of those problems where your Desmos calculator will come in very handy if you take the opportunity to substitute your solutions. So it says what value below here is going to make this equation true? Well, test it, right? You guys can take every single one of these values, substitute it into your calculator to see if you get the same answer. So, you know what? I'm just going to model taking negative 12, right? It doesn't matter. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute negative 12 divided by 12 minus 7. And I'm going to see if when I enter that into my Desmos calculator, will I get the same answer on both sides? So I know that negative 12 divided by a positive 12 is a negative 1 minus 7. And on this side of my equation, I get negative 8. Well, 12 divided by 3 is 4. and 4 minus 16 is equal to a negative 12. Well, does negative 8 equal negative 12? No. So this is a false. This makes the equation false, so therefore negative 12 is not even an option. You can test every single value. All right, let's test B. 36 divided by 12 minus 7 is equal to 36 divided by 3 minus 16. Well, 36 divided by 12 I know is 3 minus 7, and that's negative 4. You can type this in your calculator. That's all Miss King is doing. 36 divided by 3 is 12, and 12 take away 16 is a negative 4. Well, I know negative 4 equals negative 4, so apparently 36 makes this equation true. You can continue to check A and D as well. I'm just teaching you, again, substitute the value that you're given and see which one will make the equation true. Let's move on. Problem 6. MJ is choosing between two cell phone plans. AT&T's cost $39.99 and additional minutes cost 45 cents per each. Verizon's plan is costing $44.99 and any additional minutes is 40 cents each. So the question that I'm being asked is how many additional minutes, so there's your variable, will it take for the two plans to cost the exact same? All right, well, let's look at AT&T, right? Here's AT&T and here's Verizon. So I know that initially $39.99 is what AT&T is going to charge you, and their additional minutes, there's your X, is 45 cents times X or times M. We want to know when the cost will be the same. So now I'm going to take Verizon's $44.99 and add 40 cents times every single minute. Okay, so now that we've written the equation, our job is to take the time and actually solve it. Once again, it's very important that you are using your Desmos calculator to make sure that you guys are typing everything correctly. So Miss King is going to go ahead and start by once again moving her variables over first. So I'm going to take the 40 cents X. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Make sure that I keep my like terms, right, together. This gives me a zero pair, and when I subtract 45 cents minus 40 cents, that leaves me with 5 cents. I go ahead and bring down the $39.99 plus the 5 cents X, and that equals $44.99. Now I'm going to subtract $39.99. What I do to one side, I do to the other. I'm subtracting $39.99. That's going to leave me with 5 cents times so many minutes, which equals, 5. So my final step is to divide 5 by 5 cents. Again, make sure that you enter this expression, numerical expression, correctly. And when I enter that, I get X is equal to 100 minutes. So how many additional minutes will it take for the two plans to cost the same? At 100 minutes, both plans will cost the same. It says, interpret the meaning of the solution. So at 100 minutes, both plans will, cost the same. Can you always go type in what you got for X? Of course you can. Substitute it and check and see what the cost would be at both cell phone plans. Problem number 7. We've been given 2 plus 1.5x equals 2x. So let's see which is the best situation that matches this. Well, Billy's Movie Club charges a membership fee of $2 plus $1.50 per rental. Okay, so I know that's 2 plus 1.5x. While Susie's Movie Club has no membership fee but charges $2 per rental. Billy and Susie find that they each rented the same number of movies, so those X is their movies, and they paid the same amount. Okay, find X, the number of movies each person rented. So I got Billy and I'm checking this expression. Wow, well, I think I got lucky with the first one. Okay, now you could go through and check at each and every single one. Betty and Wilma here are selling cookies. Betty's charging $2 per cookie, and Wilma is charging $1.50 per cookie. Okay, so it says if Betty has $1.50 left from her allowance, how many cookies must they sell before they have the same amount of money? So Betty's going to actually have $1.50 left, okay, from her allowance. So yeah, this one would not work. And you can go on. Charlie and Gabe both travel after school. Charlie catches a bus to her grandma's house, which is, and so forth, at a rate of 2 miles per hour. Gabe is walking directly to his home from the school at a rate of 2 miles per hour. So they're both walking that 2 miles per hour. And they're wanting to know how many miles does each person walk from school for that same amount of time. So again, one would be 2x, right? And the other one would be 2x plus 1.5. So that one would be incorrect as well. And you could go on and check every single one. Let's go ahead now and look at problem number 8. Sharon went bowling with her friends. She paid $3 to rent her shoes, and then $3.75 for each of the games of bowling. She spent a total, so they've given me the total that was spent of 18. How many games did she bowl? So there's my constant rate of change. So $3.75 for each game, plus $3 to rent her shoes, and she spent a total of $18. So here's a two-step equation. So $3.75 times some number of games, that's what I'm looking for, plus those $3 of the renting shoes, which I need to get rid of because I can't include that in my total games played. So that's going to give me $3.75 x equals 15. And so when I take 15 and I divide it by $3.75 on my calculator, that's going to tell me that x equals 4 games of bowling. Can I always check whether 4 games times 375 plus 3 gives me 18? Of course you can. All right, let's go ahead and look at problem number 1. The A1 Arts Learning Center charges a one-time fee of $26 plus $10 per piano lesson. The guitar shop charges a one-time fee of $36 and $8 for each lesson. After how many lessons will the cost of learning to play the piano be the same or more than? Same or more than to play the guitar. So I'm comparing the piano, right? That's always important. I'm looking at piano. So my piano inequality is 26 plus $10 a lesson, because that's my lessons is my X. The guitar is $36 plus $8 for lesson. So I want to know after how many lessons will the cost of learning to play the piano will be greater than or equal to that. So once again, you solve an inequality exactly like you do an equation. Move your variable of 8x to one side, move all your variables. That will leave you with 26 plus 2x greater than or equal to 36. Move all your numbers over to the other side, and that's going to leave me with 2x is greater than or equal to, I'm sorry, this should be minus 26. I don't know what I was thinking. Thank you. 2x is greater than or equal to 10. When I subtract 36 minus 26, I get 10. My final step is to divide by 2 on both sides, and this says that x is greater than or equal to 5. So what does that mean in this situation, right? After how many games will the cost of learning to play the piano be greater than or equal to the cost of guitar? So this just tells me at 5 lessons, at 5 or more lessons, piano lessons, right, will cost more, will cost the same or more, or the same. So if I take 5 or more lessons, it's going to cost me more for piano than it is guitar. All right, go to problem number 10. Oh, here's one of those wonderful container problems where they both have leaks. Well, that's good to know. So I know container A is holding 800 milliliters of water, but it's leaking at a rate of 6 mLs. Okay. Container B holds 1,000 mLs and is leaking at 10 mLs per minute. So which inequality properly represents the time at which container A, so I'm looking at container A, will hold more liquid than container B. So I want that more than as I compare A to B. Well, let me just go write container A's expression. We know it started off with 800 mLs, but it's leaking, so that's minus 6 mLs per minute. And then I have 1,000 mLs, and that's leaking at 10 mLs per minute. And I want to know when container A is going to be more than, hold more liquid than container B. So the best answer choice, I know B has to be wrong because there's no addition going on, and C has to be wrong because there's no addition going on. But on here, it says D is greater than, it says container B is greater than container A, and we want A to be greater than container B. So your best option is letter A. Always write your inequalities first. Let's go to the next one. Here I'm looking at which scenario best matches this inequality. So 40 plus 30x has to be less than 50x. A fitness club offers 2 membership options. The first option has an initial fee of $50, then charges $30 per month. So that's already telling me that this is 50 plus 30x. I don't even have that option on number 11. The second has no charges and 40 per month. That's 40x. So that doesn't even match my inequality that's given to me. Let's go to the next one. Lila's looking into alarm systems. Company A offers a plan that has an initial fee of 40, then charges 30 per month. Okay, 40 plus 30x. That's plan A. Company B offers a plan that charges $50 per month. After how many months will company A, which is the first one here, cost less than company B? So I'm going to look above and, yep, seems like I got lucky and found my inequality. Okay, go through each one and read it if you need to. All right, last but not least, remember, comparing and ordering is not going to go away. So please make sure that you have your Desmos calculator, as you will see a comparing ordering problem in your tests. So when I take 5 and I divide it by 12, that gives me, 0.416 repeating. That's 5 divided by 12. I know that I have negative 1.15. I don't have to worry about that. Square root of 14, when I take the square root of 14, that gives me approximately 3.74 ... I know that's an irrational number. It continues on. When I take 9 and divide it by 2, that gives me 4.5. And then finally, the opposite square root of 8 is going to be a negative 2.82. Okay? So, I want the smallest. Well, I know I have 2 negative values. Those should be the smallest. And negative 2.82, which is negative square root of 8, is the farthest away from 0. The next value would be negative 1.15. So these two have to go first because the rest of my values are positive. So when I look at 5/12s, I don't even have a dollar here. So therefore 5/12s must be the next in line. And then finally, I'm done with 5/12s. I have 9/2 and the square root of 14. Well, square root of 14 is only $3.74 approximately. And finally, 9 divided by 2 is $4.50. So that has to be the greatest, and this has to be the least. So remember, when you're giving those negative values, the one farthest from 0, the farther left I go, the less in value I am. All right, Patriots, make sure you study. This will be your second exam for this 9 weeks. Have a wonderful day.